the Mount Vesuvius goddess battle, right? Like,
let's I'm thinking like the aggro crag. Like, let's just do a match on the, right?
Yes, I'm in. I'm going. I was showing someone that the other day. I was like, you didn't live as a kid unless you knew about the aggro crag.
This is a special presentation for the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino on the Bleav Podcast Network.
What is going on, you guys? Rick Ucchino here, SB Nation, the Bleav Podcast Network. You know my guest at this time. She comes down to the ring in AEW now, looking straight out of Stark Industries, the fallen goddess Athena. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just waking up this morning, but I'm good.
I've been up since 6. Don't worry, I'm still waking up as well. But appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you. I've told people before that you were one of my favorite interviews, and the last time we spoke was 2 companies ago, one for you, one for me, and we were on the phone. This is a much better platform to get to talk to you today. So I'm really excited to dive into everything in the world of Athena. And I want to start there because I feel like a lot of wrestling fans are getting to know you all over again, right? They know you as somebody completely different, and now you are Athena. So let's start with a simple but maybe a nuanced question here. Who is Athena, and how has she evolved from the indie days?
Honestly, I don't know. That's a very difficult question. Because when I became Athena on the indies, it was basically everything that I wasn't in real life, because I was super shy. I wasn't very outgoing. I'm very closed off. I'm a little bit introverted at times. So Athena was like loud, in your face, had an attitude, was super disrespectful. And so it was this weird like alter ego almost. And I talk about some people turn themselves up. Sorry, my camera's all bouncy.
Oh, you're good.
Some people turn themselves up to like 10,000, 10 million, whatever the saying is. And like, that was just everything I wasn't in life. So now it's weird because Athena originally was a heel. Now she's a baby face, or a good guy, if you will, which is bizarre because I'm very, I'm allowing people to get to know me for the first time, I think, because I'm very goofy. I don't take life seriously. I'm a super big nerd as well. So it's literally just me trying to be a turned up version of me. I guess it's not even that, because I don't know. It's everything that I wish I was in real life. Because once again, I'm very quiet. I'm very introverted. I get weird in like massive crowds, and like you'll see me fade into the background, like that Homer Simpson gif where he goes into the bushes.
Yes.
That's me in real life. So it's very different because I'm in your face. I'm all attitude. I always say my attitude is as tall as Paul White. So, and I think I'm that big because I have the hands going and everything like that. So it's a weird transition. Not because I'm uncomfortable with it. It's just, it's different and it's new.
Yeah, I feel like that's you hear that a lot with performers, and heck, even people in my industry, because I'm the exact same way. And I was talking about this with Renee Paquette just a few days ago. Like, if my grade school teachers or high school teachers, like any of them, see what I do now, they wouldn't believe that I was the same person, because I was the guy who was afraid to like raise his hand up to ask a simple question. And it's like, can I go to the bathroom? Like that guy. And now I ask questions for a living. So I totally, I totally understand that. It's weird how life tends to work out that way. You really did kind of have the opportunity heading now into this next elevation of your career to kind of wipe the slate clean. Was there ever consideration of doing that and just starting something completely new, or was kind of going back to your roots and exploring Athena always kind of something you wanted to do there?
It was something I wanted to do in the other company, and we almost got there, but for whatever reason we didn't. And I guess that's where I felt the most comfortable, and that's where I felt like the most me in and out of the ring was as Athena. So it's weird because I'm getting the platform to grow as Athena, whereas before I had to create something completely new, completely different, something that was out of the box, all mystery, and just hope that like people would get it. And now I think it's just, I'm just happy being a wrestler again. I'm happy like expressing my art. I used to have the saying, make art out of war. because like that's what we do. We go out there, we clobber each other, but it's art because people appreciate what you do. And like that's where I felt the most comfortable, and that's where I felt the most me. So it's there was the thought that maybe I do something completely new. There was like I think that comes with everything, because when you leave, it's just like, what am I going to do next? What's going to be the next thing? Am I going to stay wrestling? Am I going to go branch into something else? Am I going to conform into society? Am I going to work at the local Albertsons or Tom Thumb? What's going to happen next? You know, because there is that weird like 90 days where you're just like, I don't know what I want to do at myself, but it also doesn't help because you have 90 days to do absolutely nothing. So a lot of it was just like, do I want to wrestle again? Well, that's going to pay the bills. So I kind of have to wrestle, you know? So like, it was one of those things. So I should do something new. And then I was like, no, I have all this stuff, like, cause I was making my own entrance pieces for a while, and I have all this stuff in the back. I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff I spent all this money on? You know? So you go back and forth with yourself. And then finally, like, my husband was actually like, why don't you just be you again? Why don't you just be Athena? Why don't you just like show people what you can really do under a brand and on a platform that you love? And I was like, nah, you're stupid. No. And then like, I kind of sat on it, and I was like, I think he's right. You know, I think he's right.
I was going to say, how hard was it to admit that he was right to him on that one?
It's never an issue to admit that he's right, because 99.9% of the time I'll be like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I end up doing it because it's probably the best idea that any of us can come up with. And I'm like, no. And then I'm like, let me just write this down, put this in my back pocket. And normally I end up doing it. My husband has an amazing creative brain for what we do in this business. So like, I'll sit there and be like, oh, that idea won't work for me, but it does, you know. You know, so it's really one of those things that like, he's my biggest supporter. We yell, we fight, we don't like to talk about wrestling so much, but like, he really does have a great brain for this, and he loves this so much because he grew up on it just like I did. So he knows, he sees things differently, and where I'm very like one track, this is what we got to do. Sometimes he's like, no, but you can go over here, you can go around the corner, you can go pet this dog, pick up this cat, and you can still get there. And I'm like, no, this is faster. You know, so it's funny, but I love him to death. But he's kind of the one that sparked that idea of like, just be you, just, you can do whatever you want, which is what you wanted to do when you first start wrestling, that you could do whatever you want, say whatever you wanted to say. And like, that's kind of where it kind of sparked that inspiration to just go back to being me again.
You know, it's interesting to hear you talk and hear, you know, your husband say things like that, because, you know, you're talking about those 90 days trying to figure out what you want to do. I would say that there was a bevy of options, because you talked about you make your own gear. And I always thought you were a great analyst when you had the opportunity to do that. And obviously, you know, the Twitch stream, and you're very good on social media. I feel like you have this collection of skill sets that's going to give you a myriad of options for whatever you want to do the rest of your life.
It was so weird because like I said, I grew up on pro wrestling. Like that was my jam. Like I loved it. I was so into a lot of the stories. And like, I think when I left, I just didn't have that drive to be that analyst anymore, because at that time when I was doing backstage, I was watching Raw, SmackDown, NXT UK, NXT, any YouTube videos they would post, any everything, like the BTS sport interviews and stuff like that. So I was surrounding myself with almost, I think something like 14 to 15 hours of wrestling every week. And that was a lot. I love wrestling, but when you do it over and over and over and over again, it becomes one of those like, oh my God, I just want to watch South Park or something.
I'm there. I'm with you. I get it. Burnout's a real thing, man.
But I think like it just kind of, I didn't want to do that anymore. You know, I love hosting, don't get me wrong. And I hosted a Twitch channel for esports, which was absolutely fun and amazing. And it taught me that I did have different skill sets outside of wrestling. Like you said, I have the Twitch channel. I play video games. I got to be involved in like Summer Games Fest for Dungeons and Dragons. I played Dungeons and Dragons like semi-professionally at times. So like, yeah, there were all these avenues. I wanted to get into voiceover. I still do, and acting and stuff like that. So yeah, there were all these different like arrows. Like think of it like there's a stick in the middle of the road and there's like 20,000 arrows, and you're just like, that's a lot of arrows. So so that was it. It's like I just didn't know, right? There were so many options. There still are so many options, especially with AEW being absolutely amazing and giving me the freedom to do stuff outside of the company as well. So it's a mixed situation.
Right. I do want to ask, because you have something with D&D coming up relatively soon, right? Like something that you can plug there.
So not specifically for D&D. So we have been filming a tabletop RPG using 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons and Kobold Press, which is the company that made the module we're playing, which is Tome of Heroes. So we're actually doing a 6-part miniseries that's sponsored by Kobold Press. Yay! And I get to play D&D on my stream, and like it's awesome because I've never created something, and like I had a lot of help from my bestie Daisy, so I have to give her a shout out. But I've never had something that I've like physically been like, I have this idea, it needs to be done, someone help me get it done, and like we got it done. So that's like every Thursday on my Twitch stream, Half Dragon AP. The VOD will be on YouTube, Half Dragon AP, because it's easy and I love dragons. So
Fair enough. All right, let's dive back into AEW here before I get some relations people yelling at me. You have been going toe to toe here with Jade Cargill since you came into AEW. You got your eyes set on that TBS Championship. When you look at someone like Jade, who I think is a perfect first opponent for somebody named Athena, because she looks like she was carved out of marble by the actual Greek goddess of war herself, right? Like, just the possibility of working with someone like her, how does that get your mind working creatively?
I've been watching Jade Cargill for a while. Like I say, I like to stay longer than what people know. I feel like I was there from the very first match all the way up to current. And you see her, like, I don't want to say elevation, but you see her growth from her first match into her persona, into her in-ring ability up until now. And when you look at someone like that, you're like, oh, they care. Oh, they want to be good. And like it's weird because I had never met the woman until All Out. Like when I was like, you're really tall. You know? So it was this really cool moment of like watching someone start from their very first match, because she started on TV. Right. Yeah. Which I think is the hardest job, and people don't give her enough credit for that. And you know, she started first match on TV, undefeated streak all the way into now, which we know I don't have the best luck with undefeated streaks. But I look at this
as a former life.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I look at this as an opportunity to kind of go into something massive, to show people not only what I can do as a high flyer, a technician, a strongman at times. And I look at like the collaborative effort that could be there, right? Jade Cargill is a megastar. Like, you just look at this woman and you see her on the TV and you're like, hold on, let me flip back a couple more channels. And then what was this Amazon woman I just saw right here? And she looks great doing it, and she owns that persona, which is even more fantastic because she has a character, right? A lot of women, they're like, oh, I'm the good girl, I'm the bad girl, right? I'm all attitude. I am not, I don't know if I'm supposed to be a good guy 90% of the times. I just kind of say what I say and do what I do. And some kind of way people like me. It's weird. But when you look at someone like Jade Cargill, it's just like, oh, that's a challenge. That's something I need in my life, right? And it started on Twitter before we even got into the final talks of me coming officially to AEW. And it was just like, ooh, there's something here. And like just me going, with the little face responding to who's next just went viral. And then she responded, then I responded. And it just blew out of the water. So it kind of started on Twitter. So thank you, Bluebird. You did this for me. But like, I think people were so interested in that feud, and they're like, oh, when is this happening? Then the Joker thing happened. And I already knew I was going when the Joker happened. So me and my husband, we got on stream. We're like, this is pre-taped, because we knew that weekend I was going. So they're like, oh no, look, I'm still in Texas, you know? And so it was just really cool to just be able to go into a main feud right away, because I feel like it's been so long since I got a singles run, like not like a singles run, like when the other undefeated streak was there.
Right.
And telling stories are so important to what we do as pro wrestling, right? Because that's what gets people invested. And coming into this story with Jade Cargill, like, that means a lot to me. So I want to put all of my effort, all of my emotion, all of my physical well-being into this to make it good, to make people relate to, hey, like, I'm 5'1". I don't care that she's 6 foot whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna knock her flat on her ass. That's what I do, you know? And like, the one thing that has stayed true throughout my entire career is that, like, if there's a challenge there, it doesn't matter how many times I get knocked down, I'm going to beat that challenge. And I don't think people really know that about me as a person. Like, I've had so many tryouts in the former life that, like, I was like, nah, I'm kicking this door down, baby. We're going to get there, right? We're going to get there. And then I finally got there. So, like, that's just the type of person I am. Maybe it's because I'm a massive gamer that I will sit here and rage play every game until I have a mental breakdown. But like, that's me. It's like, I'm going to beat the big monster. I'm going to beat the big bad at the end of the adventure. I like to win. That's what I do, you know? And it's just like an alpha mentality of just like, I got to be the best. I'm going to be the best to be the best. You got to beat this hussy here. I ain't gonna say it because I don't want someone to come after me with DMCAs and all that stuff. But you guys get what I'm saying, is that, like, this person who has made a career out of nothing in the pro wrestling world, because she was very accomplished before she got here, out of nothing in the pro wrestling world, who is at the top of the mountain right now. And I'm like, I want to kick her off this mountain. Even then, even if I don't kick her off the mountain, because we all know it's pro wrestling, right? Like, I want people to remember what I did at the top of that mountain, that we had this epic battle on top of Olympus, and lightning was striking and angels were weeping and fire from hell was blazing up. And I want it to be that. I want it to be this epic, like, rock battle, if you will.
Have you pitched that to Tony Khan? Because that sounds amazing. Like, no. Rock of Ages, but in a wrestling ring. Like, I'm this
Queen of the Mount Vesuvius goddess battle, right? Like,
let's I'm thinking like the aggro crag. Like, let's just do a match on the, right?
Yes, I'm in. I'm going. I was showing someone that the other day. I was like, you didn't live as a kid unless you knew about the aggro crag.
I've always wanted just that chunk of rock, right? Like, I've always wanted that as a kid, even though I knew I was not athletically inclined enough to do it.
I was afraid of heights as a kid. I was a little thick, so that whole zero gravity thing probably wouldn't have worked for me, where they're running on the side of the ceiling. Sorry, but yeah.
I would have drowned in the pool personally. So that's just me. That's just me. We can dream though, right? So I am looking forward to this epic battle whenever it does go down. And I am even more so now after watching an interview you did with NBC Boston. And I kind of have a follow-up to something that was said at the end of that interview, where you talked about now having an unfiltered moveset.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
So I feel like I said, I'm 5'1". In a former life, I was 5'1", and I was required to be 5'1", as in, like, I had to be a high flyer and jump around and do things, and I like doing that stuff, right? I'm not knocking any shade. That's just the small window of what I was given, and I took advantage of it to the nines. And like, that was the challenge given to me. You are a high flyer. Go out and high fly and do your thing, woman, right? Because I'm short, right? Sure. I get it, right? But before I got there, I was a technician. I was a powerhouse. I didn't do any of the high flying stuff. You know, I learned that to get a job because I saw that no one else was doing that at the time. Now everyone can do everything. It's amazing. But that was when I got signed, that was the role I was given. And I was like, oh, this is just kind of, and I parted out a lot of my moves, right, within the company. And I won't say who, because they can tell you if they want to tell you. I don't really care. I parted out a lot of like my powerhouse moves and stuff that I just didn't do anymore to like anyone and whoever wanted to learn, because like I just enjoy that. You know, it was like, oh, yeah. I teach someone something and they do it on TV. I'm like, oh, I taught them that, right? But like some people called me the woman of 1,000 moves because I always had a move for something. And like being at AEW gives me that freedom to explore all of these moves and get to do new things. And it's not that I'm 5'1", it's that I'm a wrestler and I'm competitive. No. And if Riho can lift up Nyla Rose for a German, damn it, I can pop up powerbomb whoever I want. Come through, you know what I mean? And that's what I mean by unfiltered moveset, is that like do anything because it's the art that we create, right? Yeah, we'll make it make sense, whatever, but like that's the art. That is the amazement of like, oh my gosh, I just saw this 5'1" girl throw someone in the air. And then she just like slammed him as hard as she could. Mind you, are they being thrown that high? Probably not, because I'm 5'1". I'm gonna try my damnedest. But having an unfiltered moveset, not having to worry about so much of who does what, but what works for your match and your story within the match tells like there's so much more entertainment value to that to me. And a lot of that is like one of my favorite things I saw as a kid, because I feel like I have to say this because then you'll understand where my mindset is. Hurricane versus The Rock. Hurricane versus The Rock. Mind you, didn't realize Hurricane was like 6 foot something until I met him in person, but still, like Hurricane versus The Rock. How many times did he tease that choke slam? How many times? Choke slam, no one take it. No, choke slam, no one would take it. Choke slam, no one would take it. And then he finally gets in that championship match with The Rock on SmackDown, and he hits him with the choke slam, boom, and the crowd loses their crap because for 6 months he's been teasing this choke slam. The Rock finally takes it. That place explodes, and everyone thought he was going to win the match. Like, that's the type of, like, I don't want to be limited by the way I look, right? Because at the end of the day, I have a 400-pound deadlift, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can move a lot of weight, right? I might not look like it at times, but I can push a lot of weight. And I don't want to be limited by, like, the first thought of someone looking at me and going, oh, she's short, she can't do anything. Oh, I guess she's just going to jump in the air. I can jump in the air, I can kick you in the face, and I can throw a Saito like nobody else, right? So that's what I mean by limited moveset. I don't want to do that. I just want to keep surprising people of like, what's next? What is she going to do next? And I want people, when they hear that music and then they hear the fallen goddess, right? Like, I want them to just be like, oh, snap, wait and see what this girl's going to do. And that's what I felt like I was missing for so long in my career, because it's like, you have to be safe, which is not a bad thing. You have to do what you know, which is not a bad thing. I do want to clarify that, because we all know how the Twitterverse takes.
Oh, yeah. No, headlines are being written as we speak. Yeah, I know.
Yes, but like, I want that excitement back. And I feel like that's just me as a performer. That doesn't apply to everyone. Some people are comfortable doing what they know, and that's absolutely fine, but I want to push the limits. When I first signed, it's because I wanted to change the world of women's wrestling. I'm not a porcelain princess, and I want people to know that. Like, I am a warrior to and through, and I just want people to know that, like, whatever the guys can do, I can do it, and I'm going to try to do it better than them. And that's what my whole life in this pro wrestling world has been, is I want people to see me as a performer, not a great women's wrestler, a great wrestler, a great performer. And I want them to look at me and say, oh my God, Athena is one of the best in the world. Doesn't matter if she's a man, doesn't matter if she's a woman, she can do her job and she does it well.
Amen. I appreciate that. I do, before we wrap up here, talk about being an overall great performer. While I've been waiting to see more of you in the ring, I have been loving what you've been doing with Chris Statlander outside of the ring, and the promos that you guys have been cutting and the fun that you guys appear to be. You guys look like you have tremendous chemistry with one another. Is that something you picked up on right away?
I feel like, I want to say yes. I think it was like my second week there. I had turned around and we were just in the ring messing. I don't think we had said like anything to each other other than hello, how are you, and kept walking. And like some kind of way, it's me, a couple of other people, and her, and we're doing this weird like training, pretending that we're in this 4-way, and it's just, we're just going at it, and we're just having so much fun. And I just remember smiling, and I just was like, I really like her, because she has the same goofy mentality as me. And then it kind of evolved into that first promo of of like, we were literally trying to figure out like, what are we going to say? We have to say something back to Jade. We have to say something. And then like, I think I was like, oh, we got the body search. Oh no. And then she went into something right after that. And that's how that promo happened. And then the other one, which was even, I remember the other promo. I was like, we are all here in support of Jade Cargill. And then she goes, comma, that bitch. And I just start crying in tears. But like, if you actually watch our creative process to come up with what we are going to rebut to Jade Cargill, I think that is worth a reality show in its own. But like, it's just like, I hit it off with her and like, I don't know. It feels like I've known her for a really long time and we've only known each other for like 5-6 weeks at this point in time. But I just feel so comfortable as a coworker, as a friend around her. Like even now, like we'll like text something and it'll be like stupid. It won't even be anything wrestling related. It'll be like, hey, I saw this. I liked it. So you'll like it. And she'd be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Or, you know, like, and then she'll send me something, mainly a snapping turtle, which I feel like everyone should know what that is out of context. So I'm just going to say it out of context and not explain myself. But like, yeah, we become really good friends. And then we had our first tag match last week, which it just clicked. Like it was just there, which is weird because normally like it takes me a while, but I think it's because we get along so well in person that this clicks. And it's weird because we were like, let's try to do this thing. And we're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, it's so nonchalant, so carefree. And I love that about her, you know? And like, honestly, I love her to death. I've been keeping up with her for very long, from the boot to the serious alien to more than a woman, you know, like it's really awesome to see her. I'm trying not to say evolution because I hate saying that now. Seeing her progress and change and development. I feel, you know, like she's always been great, but like I remember watching her versus Red Velvet, both matches, and I was like, holy crap.
Very good.
Mama is out there, you know, and it's really awesome to see like just her dedication and how much that she wants to be like on screen, in a ring, whether it be in a promo or out there in a match. And it's just awesome to watch her. Like I remember being backstage and seeing her flip Red Velvet into her finish. And I was like, oh my God. And it was awesome. And I was like, hell yes. I was like so pumped. Everyone's looking at me backstage like, oh my God, who is this new girl here? And I'm like, this is me. I love wrestling. You're gonna have to deal with it. Like to this day, I find myself like, if I'm in like the backstage area, I try to watch by myself because I get very animated and stuff as well. And normally there's a small crowd that forms around me. That's people watching me watching the matches. So yeah. I'm that person. So if you hear a scream from backstage, 99.9% of the time, that's probably me. I'm just letting you guys know that now.
I love it so much. I love to see you having fun again. It's great to see you back on my TV screen again. Go game for a little bit. I'm going to go Google snapping turtle and we can talk down the road once again. Athena, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.